trail of laughter through the pain. But look at us now, on a Sunday time. Have we seen our finest hour? Good times surely will come. All I know is people talk without listening. What I'm saying is life's too short to live in these extremes. Have we seen our finest hour? Good times surely will come. And all through the night I wondered and waited.
Fake news. Boston wrestling is fake news.
Divided we fall to wait here for you, holding it together, just like a desert flower, waiting on the rain to come. And all I know is anger, lies, confusion. And what I'm saying is you don't realize what this means. Have we seen our finest hour? Good times surely will come. Just like a desert flower, waiting on the rain to come.
Yep, that's me. I'm back again. I want to thank all the people out there that took the time to listen to some of my childhood. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk to about my childhood, but I didn't exactly get to it. But you know, like I was saying earlier, how a person raised, you know, my mom used to say, you know, you reap what you sow. That was in the Bible. So if you plant corn, you're not going to get tomatoes. Whatever you put into a child at a very, very young age, that child grew up with that in it. In my times, you know, as a young kid growing up in Virginia, and it probably was just Virginia, was just the way things was. You know, we fought all the time, and you know, you had to be tough. You had to be tough in the neighborhood. You had to have some type of reputation. You had to get fan away of fanning your own. Well, you know, I know y'all heard a lot about my childhood earlier, but just to brief it up, and I'll probably go back to it later on, you know, in the year. But I live. When I stopped and thought about it, I lived with my mother for only 11 years of my life. I was with my mom from age 1 to age 11. Then I was sent to as I told y'all earlier, the Negro Baptist Children's Home, where I stayed until about 14 or 15. Then I came home. I stayed with my mom for about 1 year. And then because of a stolen automobile that was in my yard, I decided to go and return the automobile. I don't know if I told y'all this, not my
You did.
memory. I did? Okay,
Yep.
thank you, Larry. My memory ain't that short, but you know, I tried to return the car and ran into the cement truck, got cement all over me. That's how the police was able to
Yep.
figure out it was me. I asked that cop, I said, how you know it was me that did that? He said, you're the only one standing out here with cement all over you. So, but anyway, there was another story that I want to tell briefly. This guy named Roger Vibe, when he went and broke into the Black Anglers, and he took a bunch of steaks, lobster, and stuff like that. And then I ended up letting him put it in my house. You know, being a young kid, somebody else, you know, porterhouse steak and lobster. What are you gonna do? Say no, I don't want that. Especially when be eating beans and fat back as long as I have. So that looks pretty good. So then the police came through the neighborhood. And in my book, you see a story called Lobster Tail. But what happened to my brother Charles, it's about 2 years in between each one of us. My brother Walter called me the other day to tell me some stuff. They say a lot of stuff I talk about he don't remember because Walter is 2 years younger than me. So what happened to me at 6, my brother Walter was 4 at the time. So what happened to me at 6, of course, he don't remember. And then my brother Noah's, you know, ex-military, he gave me some information on stuff that kind of, you know, over the years you forget things. You know bits and pieces, but you don't really know everything. But anyway, make a long story short, the police were looking for these old muskets. from the Civil War, and they knocked on our door. I was at school. My mother had a heart attack. Back up, she had a heart attack, and for some reason, even though I was not the oldest, I was next to uh, uh, the youngest. And my brother Norris was already gone. At 15, Norris went to the Job Corps, and then from the Job Corps to the military. And he was too young to join the military, so my mother had to sign for my brother Norris to go into the military. That's where he spent most of his career. And Walter, he was staying young and going to school and everything. So anyway, make that long story short, Charles was eating lobster. Police asked where you get the lobster, and sure enough, he'd say, "My brother Tony." So then they sent me away to what they call the reception and diagnostic center, because I wouldn't tell, who stole the guns and the food and stuff. So when I came back from the reception and diagnostic center, I had put on more size, because that's where I started lifting weight. I became what's called a trustee. Whereas a trustee, they allow you to do things. So they let you go out and play basketball or baseball or whatever you want to do. But they had some old weights. Nobody used them. So I asked them, could I lift weights? So I started lifting weights. And back in my day, we talk about weightlifting. There was no bodybuilding or powerlifting. We used to call a powerlifter a frustrated weightlifter. Because a weightlifter in my day, you grab it from the ground, bring it to here, push your head. And when somebody asked you how much you lift back in the 70s, they wasn't talking about how much you could bench press, squats, or deadlift. They were talking about how much can you put over your head, And that was how I started off weightlifting. So when I came back, I knew my mother worked hard. I mean, my mom worked 2 jobs to support her. So I didn't want to be a burden to my mother. So I moved in at 15 with this lady that was 38 years old. Her name was Loretta Mize. And I lived with Loretta Mize all through from age 15 all the way up until age 20. For 4 years, I lived with this woman. But in the meanwhile, during the time I lived with Loretta, thanks to Jackie Cooper, who written my first program, and Alfonso Johnson, who got me into the YMCA, and Randy Booth, who took me to contested in Hopewell, Virginia, and places like that, and Steve Agent that drove me all the way to Norfolk for the Virginia weightlifting and the Virginia bodybuilding championship. And Loretta, I was able to eat and do stuff like that. I was able to go to school. Now, I'm not very proud of myself at school. That's why when I go places, I always encourage kids get an education, because education is power. There was a reason why years and years ago they didn't want black people to go to school, because once you go to school, you get an education. With education, you get a better job. With a better job, you make more money, and you can get political power and so on and so on. But anyway, when I met Loretta, my mom didn't like it. And I always thought it was because of her age. I was 15 and Loretta was 38. Then later, I found out that she believed that for a man and woman to live together unmarried is a sin. Well, y'all don't know, in the older days, if you couldn't check into a hotel with a woman unless she was your wife. That's, we raised my area, they call it called the Bible Belt. Where everybody would go to church on Sunday. You'd have a Sabbath where every Sunday everything was closed. Even winos wouldn't even drink on Sunday. Even they have a bottle of liquor. Yeah, they would take that bottle of liquor, put it back in their back pocket and everything. Then I started hanging out with JC and Alfonso, older men. I always hung out with older guys. I think it was because I didn't have a father. So by not having a father, I cling to a lot of older people, because I was looking for that guidance. Like, a woman can only teach a man so much about being a man, and then the man have to is the one that really going to teach him how to be a man, how to protect himself, and how to earn, pull himself up by his own bootstrap and everything. And my mother also taught us how to be responsible. This is how she taught me how to be responsible for what I do. I would do something. My mom would come in and say, "All right, which one of y'all boys did this?" So we always look at each other. Me, Walter, and Charles. Noah's pretty much gone by then. And my mother said, "Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to whoop all of you. I'm sure by doing that, I get the right one." Well, I don't want my brothers to get punished for something I did. Oh, yeah. She said, "If I whoop all of y'all, I know I get the right one." But she knew that we was going to that we were going to stand up, because I was not going to let my brother Walter or my brother Charles take a whooping for something that I did. She didn't whoop us that much. It took a lot for her to spank one of us. I mean, we really had to do something real bad. She was a very loving, hard-working woman. She used to go to work early in the morning. She didn't get back home until late at night. She was off, on Sundays to go to church and everything, but she worked 2 jobs, a good woman. I mean, they don't make women like that. But my mother was not the only woman that went through them struggles during that, during the 50s and the 60s, for a single mom, they had it pretty rough, because when my mother went to work, there was nobody to take care of us but our grandmother. And my grandmother was up in age a little bit, so she couldn't keep up with us. We slip out the house and go and do things, and kept myself in trouble. But I stayed out of trouble all them years because I met Alfonso, J.C. Williams, and stuff of that nature. So what I learned at a very, very age, I met this guy called Buddy Ball. My mother had moved to Roanoke after I got back from the Baptist, after the diagnostic center. She was living in Roanoke. So I hear stories about this guy named Buddy Ball. And they called him Buddy Ball because he was fat when he was a little kid, and people picked on him for being fat. So he started lifting weights, got himself in great shape. And I said, and I hear a story about he hit a guy so hard he knocked him out of his shoes. He was just big, strong guy. So one day when I finally met Buddy Ball, I said, "Buddy Ball, how many fights have you been in?" And he said, "I used to get in a lot when I was fat. I don't get in fights no more." And I said, "Why not?" He said, "Well, everybody's scared of me. Nobody want to fight me once they found out how strong I am." And people used to say, "Don't get in a fight with that Buddy Ball. He's strong as hell." I see him turn cars over when Martin Luther King got killed. He went downtown, started flipping over automobiles. I see him hit a guy, knock him on his shoe. So you hear all these stories about Buddy Ball. So I figured that the bigger and the stronger I got, I didn't have to fight no more, because I pretty much got tired of fighting. When you fight every other day, and most of the time the fight was over stupid stuff, just silly shit, And so I didn't want to fight anymore unless, I had a real good reason. So I started working out and everything with Mucci and Alfonso and all of them guys. And I never watched wrestling, believe it or not. The first wrestling match that I saw, I was in it. I didn't watch TV that much. I used to go to school, come home, go to the gym, come back home, eat, have sex with Lorella, go sleep.
That's a pretty good day, Tony.
That was my day. Working out, going to school, and having sex, and eating a lot. So I started wrestling. A guy asked me one time, "How long did you do amateur?" Well, back in the old days, they had what called a JV team. So when you was getting ready to graduate, leave the 6th grade, going into the 7th grade, they would bring you over to Jefferson High School at that time to get on the junior varsity team. So I started wrestling when I was in the 7th grade, and I wrestled from the 7th grade all the way up until the 12th grade. So I was a pretty good amateur. So I participated in wrestling. I boxed a little bit for the Police Athletic League. I went on to I even took up a little judo at the YMCA, and there was a guy named Gus that gave me a free membership at the Y. Only thing I do was at the end of the day, I put all the weights up and clean the dressing room. But one day I was in the gym working out. I was getting ready for this Virginia State Powerlifting Championship, and I already had the Virginia State. I was by the time I was 19, I was Virginia bodybuilding champion, wrestling champion, arm wrestling champion, powerlifting champion, and bodybuilding champion. So I was a champion in both weightlifting, powerlifting, because they're 2 different things. Weightlifting, powerlifting, bodybuilding, and wrestling. By the time that I was 19 years old, I held all of them titles. So one day I'm at the gym, I'm working out, and I got 600 pounds on the bar, and I'm getting ready to deadlift. Well, this other guy came in, and I didn't know who he was. I said, man, that's a big man. With my friend Alfonso, he went nuts. You know who that is? You know who that is? I said, no. Who is that? Because I never saw Professor Wrestling. Like I said, I didn't watch it. That's Blackjack Mulligan. I said, what is a blackjack? He said, that's the blackjack. Blackjack Mulligan. So I looked at this guy, nearly almost 7 feet tall, way over 300 pounds, with hands looked like mittens. When Mulligan was on the bench, he doing bench press. He had 225 on, and he would do it 10 times. He stopped, do it 10 more times, and stop and everything. Well, we had this other guy. He was what y'all may call a jerk or a prick, or guy just like to stir the pot.
A shit stirrer.
Yeah, he love. Yeah, that's a good word, Larry. Stir the pot. He liked to stir the pot a lot. So he was looking at Blackjack. He knew who Blackjack was too, because he was also a wrestling fan. He go over and say, I thought you wrestlers were strong. Blackjack don't say nothing. Yeah. Look at that kid over there. He's only 19 years old. He set the Virginia state record at 480 pounds. I bet you can't outlift that kid over there. And I'm saying, like, leave me the fuck out of this, You mess with a freaking 7 foot, 300 pound man, and you want to involve me? Leave me the hell out of it. The guy got hands as big as my chest, So Mulligan still don't say nothing. The guy keep needling him. Finally, Mulligan very slowly got up off the bench, looked at him, grabbed him by his freaking neck, just like that, and with one arm picked him up and put him up against the wall. And he said, look, I've been fighting all night. I've been drinking all night. I came here to get me a good light workout because I got to fight and drink again tonight. Leave me alone. The next time you say something to me, I'm going to put you not against the wall. I'm going to put you through it. And he let the guy go. The guy fell to the floor. So Mulligan finished his workout and he left out. Guy didn't say no more. So Alfonso got down there. You want to go meet Blackjack? You want to go meet him? I said, I don't know. I just saw this man pick a guy up. I said, he probably pissed off. So downstairs at the YMCA room, we got to go downstairs. The shower in the locker room was downstairs. So we go downstairs this is the first wrestler. The reason I'm talking about Blackjack, because this was all part of my childhood. I wasn't even a wrestler now. I was only 19 years old. Never even thought about becoming a pro wrestler. Never even heard about it. But Alfonso was a wrestling fan, and everybody in the gym that knew that the wrestlers came to the YMCA. Back then, the YMCA was the only gym around. They had like Gold Gym, Planet Fitness, none of that stuff was around. It was just the old YMCA. So all the wrestlers went to the Y. But anyway, we go downstairs. As I'm coming down into the dressing room, Blackjack is coming out the shower. He got his flip-flops on. He got a towel wrapped around him. So right away, we caught each other's eyes. So I stuck out my hand and said, Mr. Blackjack, my name is Tony. This is my friend, Alfonso. Alfonso was scared to talk to him, even though he was a fan. He told me to do it. So Alfonso nudged him, come on, say something to him, say something to him. So I walked up to him. Well, I noticed Blackjack kind of looked at me off the corner of his eye, And then when I stuck my hand out and introduced myself, he kind of took a deep breath, And so I talked and everything to Blackjack, first wrestler I would talk to. And he said, kid, if you ever decide to be a wrestler, you let me know, and I will help you everywhere I can. In 2006, I was telling the story to Blackjack of how we first met. And Blackjack said, I was tired, I was wore. He said, when you came at me, he said, I just knew you came to fight. He said, once you stuck your hands out and shook at me, he said, I was so glad. He said, the last thing I wanted to do was get into the fight. He said, I had the worst hangover from the night before. He said, my ribs were hurting because he said, Wahoo chopped him so hard or something. We had a match with Wahoo. He told me something that Wahoo did to him, Wahoo McDaniel. And so, Blackjack, I found out to be one of the best people that I have ever witnessed. Now, a lot of these guys I'm going to mention, like Blackjack Mulligan and people of that nature. Blackjack was a veteran. He served in the Marine Corps, for y'all that don't know that. He also was He served in the Marine Corps. He also played pro football for the Jets. He had a tryout for a couple more teams. I got a piece of paper that got a lot of his stuff because I found out a lot of stuff about people that we talked about in the room. But as time went on, I just kind of forget some of the things. So when I did, I went and made myself some notes so that I forget. I'm gonna put my old spectacle on, look like an old man that I am. Blackjack played football at the University of Texas at El Paso. Also, he was in the Marine Corps. He played for the New York Jets, 1966 preseason, and had a tryout for the New Orleans Saints and the Denver Broncos. He was trained. He was trained with Joe Blanchard. Now, you know the Blanchards. This is the old man Joe in Corpus Christi. Blackjack also, which worked out with Vern Gagne. And he wrestled not just as Blackjack Mulligan. He had a ring name of Blackjack Mulligan, Big Bar Window, and the Big Machine. So he was one of the biggest, strongest, nicest men that I ever met. The second time that I saw Blackjack, the first time was at the YMCA. The second time I went to Charlotte, they had brought me to Charlotte. I go back to how I got there, but I just want to finish up on Blackjack. The second time I saw Blackjack, they used to do TV in Raleigh, North Carolina for Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling with the Crockett, Jim and David Crockett, and the Murnix. The Murnix ran Norfolk and a couple places. Well, anyway, George Scott, who was the booker at that time, I'm going to tell you more about him also. He opened the door and said, Tony, I want you to meet the board. So he reached and opened up the door, and Ole Anderson, part of the Minnesota Record Crew, came flying across the door. It's like an airplane or something. So George Scott asked one of the wrestlers, said, well, what happened here? Oh, nothing. Blackjack just slapped Ole. He took his big old hand. He slapped that Ole Anderson, knocked him off his feet. Ole went flying through the air just like somebody had jump off a trampoline or something. And yeah, but that's Blackjack Mulligan, and as I tell my life, every time I name a certain wrestler, I'm gonna try to give y'all some type of history on this wrestler. Because one of the things I used to tell a lot of people that I talk to, people act like wrestling started in the 90s. They act like it started with Hulk Hogan. It didn't. There was guys that was wrestling. I mean, they was tough guys. So anyway, one day, another time was I was at the YMCA. A lot happened for me at the Y. I saw my weightlifting at the YMCA. I met Blackjack Mulligan at the YMCA. Well, I guess Blackjack went back and told other people about me. Well, they had this other wrestler named Sandy Scott. Sandy Scott said, we hear that you are a pretty good wrestler. And I said, yeah, I did a little amateur wrestling, but I never did any pro wrestling. I said, I met Blackjack. He said, yeah, Blackjack told me about you. He said, I come down here to see you. And so back in them days, you had to be tough. You had to be. I mean, you could not be a whip. Because, see, my job, when I first started, what they taught me, that wrestling is like being a magician. You know it's a trick on how you do the act. But the object of the game is to make the people believe. You have to make the people believe. That's why in the olden days, nobody asked this question anymore, but I used to get asked every day back in the 70s, is wrestling fake? And the reason people were asked this question, because it was only partially fake. When a wrestler hit back in the olden days, I'll be skipping all the place, but I'm trying to give y'all a good idea of what wrestling were. Not no more, but what it were. I had a match with Gene and Ole Anderson. And I hit Gene. Boom. Gene said, you freaking, I don't want to say what he said, but bad language was, normal then. Now, if I tell you what they say, I won't have a program no more. But I'm gonna try to make you think. He said, you freaking piece of S, you know. And with them big arms, that's as hard as you can hit. I said, oh, you want me to hit you, huh? So I drew back, and I hit him as hard as I could with the elbow. Oh, yeah, that's good. You learn it. What do you mean I'm learning? I just gave you my best freaking punch, and you smiling at me. But that, how they just tell you, lay it in, kid. Lay it in, kid. You know, because we wanted to make people believe that what we did was for real. Then when you went outside the ring back in the olden days, you really had to lay them in back then. You know, the only guy that I've seen that still do that on television was Ric Flair. I saw that old man chop some of them new WWE kids. I hear from one of the guys that guy didn't want to wrestle that old man because he was hurting him. You know? But anyway, Sandy Scott used to wrestle with his brother George Scott. And Sandy Scott was born. He died he died in 2010 at age 75. He debuted in 1954. He wrestled with his brother George Scott as the Flag Scotsman. And he was born in 1934. These were the people that taught me. They were born in the 30s and in the 40s. So I was trained by guys that had a 1950, 1960 mentality. I mean, you look at it, this guy started wrestling when I was born. You know, so he was already in the ring. He was starting his career, you know, when I was a child. So these was the guys that I traveled up and down the road with. I wish sometimes y'all would look up some of the things that some of these guys did, and some of the names are like incredible, you know. So they taught us the way wrestling should be. They was gonna make me champion. I remember. I'm gonna be all over the place, you know. I'm Tony Atlas. Nothing. If you expect something to go like this, you get another program. You want to go like this?
It's going to be a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's all over the place. But I hope you could understand something and learn something. But anyway, these guys was taught, these old time, in other words, they beat the hell out of you in the ring. My very first match was in Anderson, South Carolina. And it was me and Bob Breger. Now, Bob Breger was also an ex-football player. Me and Bob Breger. And Bob would get in the ring. Bob weighed about 230 pounds at that time. And he was in there with Art Nelson and the Blue Scorpion. And I wasn't Tony Atlas then. I was Tony White because everybody knew me from my amateur days and my powerlifting days. And my picture was always in the newspaper for the contests I win. So Bob would get in the ring. He'd throw the guys all over the place. Guys are flying all over the place for Bob. I get in the ring. I couldn't get them off their feet. So I go back to the back. I asked Bob, "Babe, how do you do that?" I said, I try to throw Art Nelson. I can't move him. You throw him with ease. Got to get the Lovitch kid. Got to get Lovitch on. Got to get Lovitch on. You know, he's working the hell out of me, you know. What I'm trying to say is today, a wrestler is smart to the business. Today, it's smart to the business before they had their first match. Not in my day, because they wanted to protect the business. So it was afraid. Peter Parcelou, the promoter of Roanoke, was the only guy that talked against me becoming a wrestler because I lived in Roanoke. He ran shows in Roanoke. So he was afraid that I would go and train to be a wrestler, and all of a sudden I quit the business and go around and tell everybody, expose the business. They were so afraid that the business was going to get exposed. And so I'm in the ring. I'm throwing the guy. I couldn't throw these guys, and they kept telling me, it's Lovitch, Lovitch, Lovitch. So this went on for about a week. Finally, we're back in the ring with Art Nelson them again. I get a headlock on Art Nelson. And boy, oh boy, I was not going to let go. And I'm squeezing it and squeezing it and squeezing it. You got to realize that by this time, I was like 245 pounds. I was bench pressing 500. I was the Virginia powerlifting champion, Virginia weightlifting champion. So I was pretty strong young man. I used to go down to the park and lift up 2 Volkswagens, as exhibition. I used to walk around with a Olympic bar with 225 pounds on my shoulder. I used to carry weights, walk around. You ask people around, I used to walk around with weights on my shoulder all the time. So I was a pretty strong kid. So I wasn't going to let him go. He was turning purple. Found the referee come up, Tony, let him go, let him go. I said, oh, you know how hard it took for me to get? I ain't letting him go. I didn't know how it worked. I thought it was for real. I've been wrestling for a week. They ain't smarting me up yet. So I'm squeezing. Finally, the referee got to him to let me go. Art Nelson nearly fell out. He stumbled over to the freaking corner there. He said, what the hell just happened? So when the match, I hope I don't offend nobody what happened. When the match was all over, I'm going back to the dressing room. This is in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I'm going back to the dressing room. And it was a stage we used to go up on. So George Scott, we get ready to go to the dressing room. George Scott cut me off. He was a booker. He said, Tony, I need to talk. He said, wait here for a minute. I got to calm him down. So he go in this room where the heels, they have separate dressing room. The baby face, the good guy was in one dressing room. The heels, which were the bad guy, was in the other dressing room. We didn't dress in the same dressing room. So anyway, I listened to the door. I saw Art Nelson standing there with an old Army 45 in his hand. And he said, George, I want you to smart that damn nigger up. Now, the word nigger got thrown around just about every day. I hear it every day. I didn't take offense to it because if you was Polish, they call you a dumb Polak. If you were Jewish, they call you names. If you were Scottish, so they had a name for everybody. So they're part of the business. If you were thin-skinned, it was the wrong business for it. Because the old wrestling fans, they would call you every name in the book. They would throw things at you. They would spit at you. They would do everything. You had to keep going to that ring. You couldn't stop and punch out a wrestling fan because you call your name. So we had to toughen up. You can't be thin-skinned. You have to be thick. You had to have very, very thick skin back in the 70s, I'm talking about. Not today. Today, half of us would have been in jail, and the program had kicked off TV and every freaking thing that you couldn't do. Now, what we did there. So he had his old Army 45, and he told George Scott, if you don't smart that damn nigga up and teach him how to work, I'm going to shoot him. He's too damn strong not to be smart. Well, it was the same thing with Sika. When he first started, he was knocking people out in the ring. They said, you got to teach Sika how to hit, That's our room arranged, our father. So George Scott walked up and said, Tony, I want you to be down at Park Center. I want you to meet Gene and who was it? Johnny Heidemann. He said, they're going to teach you how to work. I said, oh, Mr. Scott, I don't want to go to work. I want to be a wrestler. The dressing room is full. They died laughing at me. What do you mean go to work? I mean, I don't want to go to work. I want to be a wrestler. He said, no, we got to teach you to work, Tony. You're too strong. Well, I stopped lifting weights, but I want to be a wrestler. I stopped being strong. I didn't know what the hell to talk about. So finally, dude, I went to bed. I couldn't sleep that night. I was up all freaking night just man, what did I do? I want to be a wrestler. And they want me to go to work. What they going to have me do? Sweep floors, haul hay? I'm tired of working. I want to be a wrestler. It's fun being a wrestler. That's what I was thinking. So I get down, and they have me at the Park Center. And when you're breaking into wrestling, and then they started teaching me how to do it, what we call a shoot. A shoot, when somebody uses the term shoot, that means do it for real. So they taught me how to put a headlock on for real. They taught me how to put a headlock on what they call a work. They taught me how to do a bar hug for real. So every move that you see in the ring back in the 70s, you can also hurt somebody with them moves, It's where you place your arm, There's only a little inch between here and here that really makes it hurt or make it feel good. So they taught me all this and that stuff about how to work. In a way, I was happy. And in another way, I was sad. I was kind of disappointed because I really thought, that it was a real deal. But then they put me in the ring with Johnny Valentine. After 2 minutes in Johnny Valentine, I turned to the referee. I said, they need to teach him how to work. The referee said, he's working with you. That's a work. Johnny, we get you up against the corner. Boom, 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 boom. And then bend you over that top rope. And he'd shake, and the whole ring would shake. You about ready to pee on yourself. Then Johnny would say, hit me, hit me. So you hitting Johnny Valentine as hard as you can. Come on, hit me. I said, Johnny, that's hard. Hit me. Stop playing around. I hit him harder. Johnny, I can't hit no harder. That's how it was. The guys hit for real. The punching was not, they didn't pull punches. They lay them in. They beat the living dog crap out of you. But after a while, you get used to it.
You get callous to it.
Yeah, you get callous to it, so, guys would whack me. I didn't feel it the first time that when I was training. This is how, like I said, I'm all over the freaking place. This is how they used to train you, just for those that like to know. We would go to a stadium, a high school a stadium. They had this Park Center in Charlotte, was also had a football stadium outside. You run up the steps, across, down the step, across, up the step. You have to do the whole stadium. Then you have to go through a deck of cars. All the red cars, you have to do what they call sumo squats. All the other cars, you have to do push-ups. If you get a face car, you have to do 20. But whatever number you got to do, you have to do. Then you have to go in the gym and lift weights. Then they would put you on a mat with shooters. Junkyard Dog told me this story where he was watching them one day train me. And we all got what we call a stereotype. If you look at old wrestling, all black wrestler did a cocoa butt. Bobo Bazil, Rufus R. Freight Train Jones, Tony Atlas, we all did a headbutt. Well, believe it or not, most of the wrestlers back that time, they didn't know much about black wrestlers. So Gene come in one day with a hammer and hit me in the freaking head with it. I said, what that for? Well, I didn't want to see if I got a hard head or not. What you talking about? Don't hit me that hammer no more. And Dog used to make fun. He said, when I come out of training, he said, my head looked like a Hershey bar with nuts, with all the little knots on, because they whacked me in the head to see if I really, really have a hard head. There was a lot of myth. When I used to go to the shower, I would see about 5 or 6 white wrestlers standing there looking at me. I said, what y'all looking at? We just want to see if it's true what they say about black guys. I mean, what do you mean? But I got used to it and I learned a lot about people too. It wasn't just that a lot of white people doing that time. Wrestling was not that integrated. When I first started in the early 70s, there was a lot of places that I couldn't go and eat. Even though they had had desegregated America, in the late 60s, but there was still a lot of people that felt that they had a right to choose who could eat in their restaurant and who not to eat in their restaurant. Klondike Bill took me to this old truck stop one time, and I mean, man, had the best chili you ever want to eat in your life. I mean, the chili was good chili. So I'm sitting in the car smelling that chili. So they used to ask me, said, Tony, what you want? We bring you something to the car. So I'm sitting there. I told them to bring me, ham and cheese sandwich and, some French fries, something. They said, okay, Tony, we get them. I gave them the money, go in. So finally, Klondike come right out and say, hey, the guy want to meet you. So I decided to walk in. Now, no black guy ever been in this man's establishment. Never. So I'm sitting there. The guy said, hey, I saw you on TV, kid. We got all that big hair. He said, I listen to you talk. I don't know what the hell you're saying, but you saying something. You telling them something. I never know what the hell you say. Because when I used to talk, I talked like 100 miles per hour. Nobody knew what the hell I was saying. Plus, my English, even now, is not all that damn good. I mispronounce a lot of words, But anyway, I'm sitting there smelling that chili. I said, man, that smells so good. He said, that's my chili. And he started showing me all the ribbons and trophies he got. These contests they have at the fair had these different contests. And he won all these contests for his chili. So I got the best chili anywhere in North Carolina. This is my best chili. So I said, I don't mean, could I have a bowl of that chili? He said, oh, Tony, I would love to, but we don't serve niggers in here. I said, but sir, I don't want no nigger anyway. I didn't want a bowl of chili. The whole place just broke out laughing. He said, I like your attitude. He gave me a bowl of chili. He said, I'll tell you what, you sit right here and you eat that chili right here, boy. You ain't got to go nowhere with that chili. You can eat in my restaurant. Then the whole place started laughing. I was the first black guy to eat in this guy's restaurant. Every time we came through, they tell Clawback or Abe Jacobs. I will tell y'all more about these people later on. And they said, Tony, you keep that personality. He said, people like that personality, And so when people call me names, I didn't pay in no man. But wrestling, to me, was the best thing ever happened to me because I never been nowhere. I was raised up in Lowmore, Virginia, live a little bit. I was on my own when I was 15 years old. I stopped living with my mom when I was 11. And I always been by myself. And with wrestling, it became like a paid trip around the world, as the guy would tell us. In 1975, me and Don Canuta, Roberto Soto, we was in Guatemala, Central America, wrestling. And the odd thing about it, the guy wanted us to stay. So Don Canuta called George Scott and said, yeah, the guy wanted to stay another week. So after he said that, George Scott called back and said, no, y'all got to come. I got you already booked. As soon as you get off the plane, I got you guys booked. You can't stay for another week. Y'all can't book yourself. Anybody want to book y'all, got to come to me. So we left which I think was on a Monday. Tuesday, I was in the car with Steve Kern and Tagger Conway Jr. Me and Don Canuta were sitting in the back. Steve Kern was driving. Tagger Conway Jr. was in the passenger seat. I was in the back seat with Don Canuta. And Steve Kern turned around and said, hey, boy, you guys lucky. I said, what? This is 1975. He said, a big earthquake hit Guatemala, killing over 2,000 people. Wow. And it hit right downtown. I missed an earthquake by one day. If we had stayed one day, I wouldn't be here to tell the story. That was my first trip out of the country. I've never been out of the country before until I went to Guatemala, Central America. This was Guatemala before the war on drugs, before everything got messed up. It was a great place, Central America. We used to go in Central America all the time to wrestle. Then I came back.
Can I cut in?
Go right ahead.
Something I think you didn't really discuss. What was your who contacted you for training to be a pro wrestler? They didn't just give you a pair of tights.
Sandy Scott.
But what did you do for that training? Was that just the running of the stairs and they just said go wrestle?
No, you have to. One of the things where they train you, they would put you in what they call shooters. Every match you had was a shoot. None of the matches were what you see today. They would try you. And who won, who lost was always up to the promoter. And the promoter based that on how many asses you could put in the seat. So when you walk through the door and people just go nuts for you, the promoter says, hey, that's pretty good. Let's move this kid up a match or two to see how this kid gonna do. So they would move you up a match or two. But if you can't take care of yourself, what I mean by take care of yourself, some of these old timers would chew you up. Like, I'll tell you this one story with Rick and the Dragon Steamboat. If you ever talk to him, he loved this story. He tells it about me. Every time you talk to Steamboat, he tells this story. I was going back to Blackjack. He's involved in this too, and Wahoo McDaniel. We was in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I wrestled George Two-Ton Harris. This early in my career, first year in my career. In Charlotte. I started in Charlotte, North Carolina with Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. This is before Georgia Wrestling. This is before any of the stuff. I started in Charlotte, North Carolina in Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling with the Crockett. Well, I'm getting ready to go to the ring, and they pull me on the side and say, now you listen to George, he's gonna help you. He's gonna help you. So whatever he said, you do. You gotta learn to listen. I said, okay. So if we got to go 15 minutes back there. So I'm in there fighting with Bunk Harris. And every time I'm selling means I'm down on the ground, Bunk is beating on it. So Bunk kept me on the ground. Every time I started to get up, Bunk said, not yet, kid, not yet, kid. He held me to the ground for 14 minutes. Now the finish was, he picked me up, he threw me into the rope. I gave him one leapfrog, I give him another leapfrog. I turn around, give him a drop kick, throw him in, put him in the sleeper. That's all I got to do the whole match. I got the crap kicked out of me for 14 minutes. For the 1 minute, I got in. I got in two leapfrog, 2 drop kicks, throw them in, put on the sleeper. That was my first finish move. This was before the press slam. I used to use the sleeper for my first match. But anyway, I get back to the dressing room. George Scott said, Tony, didn't I tell you what I tell you before you went in the ring? I said, you told me to shine. He said, yes, because I'm bringing you back against Blackjack Mulligan because the people like you. So I want you to go out there and I want you to shine. You didn't shine. I said, yes, I did, Joe. He said, no, you didn't. He said, you let him kick the crap out of you for 14 minutes and you only got 1 minute of your own stuff. He said, that's not shining. I said, yeah, I was shining. I said, but George, I usually have a bottle of baby oil. I didn't know shine means go out there and look good. So what? Right before the match, I just dumped that baby oil on there. So Ricky Steamboat and Wahoo McDaniel came up and said, George, you got to give him credit. He was shining. I usually have a bottle of baby oil. So anyway, we came back. I did the match with Blackjack Mulligan. These was how they train you. You know, I was in the ring with Lars Anderson. Before there was Orn Anderson, there was Lars and Gene Anderson. And Gene Anderson and Lars Anderson were before Ole Anderson. So there was the original, was Lars Anderson. So I'm in every ring with Lars Anderson. Lars Anderson was a shooter. And he liked to get you in the ring and he liked to just kick the crap out of you. Just stretch you. We call it stretching. Stretching in the wrestling term means beating the crap out of you. So fairly, I told him, I said, look, I'm ready to go home. No, you don't do that shit. I said, yeah, no, let's take it home. We ain't going home. You listen to me. He kept stretching me. So I broke loose for him, nailed him, knocked him out of the ring. So I told Juan West, the referee, I said, he come back in and tell him I'm going to knock him through them ropes again. So you have to protect yourself. You know, if you watch recent matches of me with Paul Orndorff and Randy Savage, before I lose, I beat you up. I let the people know in real life you can't beat me. That's what these old timers would do. They call them keep themselves alive because if I'm going to lose to you, I'm going to take 80% of that match. That way I keep myself good. Even if I'm a jobbers got to lose. Even if I'm a jobber like S.D. Jones, Johnny Rods were well known for it. You know, you wrestle Johnny Rods, Johnny always lost the match but won the fight. Because Johnny would just kick the crap out of it because he knew in real life you can't beat him. So if I got in the ring with you in my earlier days and you can't beat me outside the ring, I won't let you do it inside the ring. I mean, I control the matches. You know, back in the older days, when we get ready to wrestle, the promoter, like I say, the heels were in one dressing room, the babyface was in the other one. The referee was the go-between guy. He would come in the dressing room, he said, Tony, you wrestling Larry Huntley, how you want to take it? I said, I'm going to use the sleeper. Guys, okay. He go to Larry Huntley in the heel dressing room, he said, he's going to use the sleeper. That was it. That was all the talking done. What happened in that square circle was up to me and Larry, me and Blackjack. The promoter had no say-so whatsoever what went on in that ring. Moved way up the ladder, years and years later, I go back in 2008. They give me a strip. Read this, what I'm reading. But this is your match. My match is written out. I ain't even, I never heard of that before. You know, now everything you see on TV now is all stripped in. From the beginning to the end. Every word. Let's say, for example, Triple H is on TV now talking. Everything that Triple H said, or whoever the guy, it don't have to be Triple H.
Triple H probably got a little leeway.
Yeah, I used the wrong guy on that one. But let's say, I'm just using him as an example. Every word that come out of these guys' mouth, some little 20-year-old from college written it. It's not him. It's not him. That's why when you see one wrestling match now, you see them all. You see one interview now, you see them all. Back in my day, You hear that from those old people. In our day, well, in my day, I asked George Scott, I said, George, I want to get a gimmick. What should I be? He said, just give it time. You will come into your own. See, each one of us got a hidden character. It started in childhood. You go out, you play cowboys and Indians. Of all the people that have been born since the beginning of time, there have not been one person born yet with the same fingerprints or the same DNA. We all different personalities. We used to say wrestling is real because wrestling was the only sport where you could be yourself. When you go to a grocery store, when you go to a restaurant, them people, to me, was acting. They all got different personality, but they're all acting the same. But in wrestling, if you want to be a cowboy, you be a cowboy. Whatever you want to be, it had to be in you. Several times in my career, they tried to make me into what's called a heel, a bad guy. It didn't work. It's not my personality. Whereas on the other hand, Ric Flair is not acting. That's Flair. He ain't acting at all. Trust me on that. He was like that from day one. He didn't need nobody to come tell him how to be. But that's how they wanted us to be. I had a hero. I went to see a movie when I was a kid with Steve Reeves. And I went and saw this movie called, when I was a kid, probably about maybe 12, 13 or something. Maybe even younger. And I saw Steve Reeves in the movie. And I said, that's what I want to be. I want to be like Steve Reeves. I want to be a muscle man like Steve Reeves. So it was very easy for me, but then I had to come up with a name other than Tony White. Well, for what y'all don't know, if you read Hercules, about Hercules had to go get these golden apples. But he had to go get them for Atlas' sister. She had these golden apples, 12 labors of Hercules, because Hercules killed his wife, so the God going to punish Hercules. He had to do 12 labors. One of the labors is he had to go get these golden apples. Where the only person to get these apples is Atlas. Now, Atlas was punished by the God. He had to hold the world on his shoulder because he was being punished by the God. So Hercules said, can you get the apple for me? Atlas said, yes. But you have to do me a favor. You have to hold the world on your shoulder until I go get the apple. And then when I come back, I take the world back and you take the apples, you go. So Hercules agreed. Atlas went and got the golden apples for Hercules, gave Hercules the golden apple. But then Atlas tried to trick Hercules. He didn't want to take the burden back on his shoulder. He didn't want to take the world back. So Hercules outsmarted Atlas by saying, look, why don't you just hold the world on your shoulder long enough I could adjust my coat, cloth that he used to wear on the shoulder. And Atlas, not being very smart, he went for it. So he took the world back on his shoulder. Hercules grabbed the apples, took off and ran his left Hercules. Well, what happened to Atlas later, Atlas pissed off Mercury because he shunned him. Mercury tried to be nice to him. He said, oh, get away from me, you little twerp, you little prick. Get away from me. No, I don't need your praise. Get on. I know I'm great. I know I'm big. I know my bulk is bigger than the man. Oh, get away from me. Ran Mercury away. So Mercury went and cut the head off of the Medusa. Now, the Medusa had these snakes on her head, and if you look into her eyes, you turn to stone. So Mercury cut off the head of Medusa. He went and took the head, put it in a sack, and said, hey, Atlas, I want to show you something. So Atlas looked at the head of Medusa and turned to stone. And he's there right now today, Mount Atlas in Morocco. So I couldn't be Samson because Samson is Jewish. I couldn't be Hercules because he's Greek. Now, Atlas is from Morocco, which is northwest Africa. I said, hell, that's close enough. So I became Atlas. If y'all read the story about Atlas and Mount Atlas, he's right there today. Mount Atlas is in. So that's how I came up with the name Mount Atlas, because you had to come up with a name for it. The promoter didn't name you there. Vince named the guys now because he got copyrights to it. That's the reason he give these guys these names now. But with me, I had to come up with my own name. I have to come up with my own matches. I told Ole Anderson one time, me and Tommy Wildfire Rich, we said, if we don't draw you no money, Ole, don't pay us. If we don't make you no money, just don't pay us. Cause me and Tommy in Georgia Championship Wrestling, we were selling out of everything, man. I mean, the billing was packed. We're gonna get more into Georgia later, but right now I'm trying to explain to y'all what wrestling were when I started wrestling, not what y'all see today. A lot of the guys, I ain't taking nothing away from them. They're great athletes, but a lot of them would never made it into wrestling. Here's the reason why. There was a wrestler by the name of Rufus R. Freight Train Jones. Big Rufus. His son is Slick. Was manager of Hercules and Nanas. His name was Slick. That's Rufus' son.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Slick.
That's
Slick is our Rufus boy. Like a lot of people don't realize that Blackjack Mulligan is the father of Barry and Kendall Wyndham. He's also the grandfather of Way Wide and Bo Dallas.
Right.
That's their grandfather. When I talk about Blackjack Mulligan, if you think about Way Wide and
Bray Wyatt.
Way Wide. Say his name again.
Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt. I've been calling him Way all these years. Nobody started laughing. Every time I call his name, he looked at me and started laughing. But he left me alone because people know I can't talk worth a shit anyway. As much as I talk, you think I learned. As long as I've been here, you think I know how to speak proper English by now. But I never learned. Didn't have to. I could wrestle. I could lift weight. That's all I needed to know. But anyway, he's the grandfather of Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas, and which is the son of Mike Rotunda, who married Stephanie Wyndham, which is Blackjack's daughter. But anyway, this guy named was Swede Hansen. He used to tag team with Rip Hawk, and they was real good during the 70s, big stars, in the Mid-Atlantic area back during the 60s and the 70s. So we had to go to the Crockett office every Monday to pick up our checks. So I rolled out there with Rufus. So Wahoo McDaniels, Paul Jones, Blackjack Mulligan, and Blackjack was in. What they do, they was meeting in the office and they would say, Rufus, you married to Blackjack. As Blackjack was going to wrestle Rufus all the way, Rufus was chasing him for the U.S. title. Now Rufus had a problem talking. People didn't understand him too well. Just like he would say something like, I'm a bit bell. I'm a bit bell. I couldn't understand him. So once I told George, I can't understand. He said, don't worry about it. The people in his area, they understand him. He said, that's all out of that. They understand him, So anyway, I'm sitting on the outside and I hear Wahoo say, yeah. I know he's that he can wrestle. I know he can lift weight. But what can he do in a real fight? Have anybody ever seen him fight? Because they were thinking about putting making me champion. So Swede took me to this club, that biker's bar, where it was easy to get in a fight. And he paid 3 guys to jump me to see how well I can handle myself. So I started fighting these 3 guys. I didn't win. I didn't lose. I didn't go down. But I fought my way out of the bar. When next day they come in, hey, you can fight. Hey, that's very good. But you had to be a fighter. If I lost a fight to a wrestler, I was okay. But if I lost a fight to a wrestling fan, anybody that was not a wrestler, even if I lost a fight to Muhammad Ali, they would have fired me. You could not lose a fist fight if you was a pro wrestler back in the 70s. Because once you lose a fight, people say, hey, see, I told you that wrestling fake. See, people came to the wrestling, see us in the older days, not like they come today. They come to catch us at doing something wrong. So they could tell everybody, see, I told you it was fake. I told you fake. So I don't know how much time I got in this segment. But anyway, that's how wrestling was. So you had to be a legitimate tough guy. There was no wimp. There was nobody in wrestling that couldn't fight. Nobody. You had to be able to beat at least 2 people simultaneously without losing a fight. You couldn't lose a fight. I don't care how many people. I'm not going to call his name, but it was a friend of mine that got jumped with a guy with pickaxe by 5 guys, and they beat the hell out of him with pickaxe. Bill Watts fired him. He didn't care if 10 guys beat you. You lost the match. You're fired. You know, that's how wrestling was. You have to. So when you see these guys on that I used to wrestle with, you look back in the old wrestling, and I'm gonna try to, if I can, get Larry or to read off some of the names. There, he read off the names. I'm gonna tell you exactly what this person was made of. All of us had an amateur background. You know, if you didn't have an amateur background for fighting or football or something like Wahoo McDaniel, used to get in a fight every night. He go in the bar and just pick a fight, just show people how freaking tough it was. Wahoo McDaniel probably one of the toughest guys. He used to play a lot of pro football. People used to holler, "Who made that tackle? Wahoo." So Blackjack Mulligan, you know, he could beat up shooters. I see him beat up Bob Roop in the dressing room one day and made him crawl out the dressing room. Every time he hit Bob Roop with them big old catcher mitt, knocked him to the floor, picked him up, knocked him down again, picked him up, knocked him down again.
And Bob Roop was a hell
Was
of
a shooter.
Yes.
Was a shooter. During the show, I'm going to try to tell y'all not just about me. I mean, it's nice to know my background, but everything I ever got in life, I owe to thousands and thousands of people. Everything that ever happened for me, good. Everything that ever happened to me bad, I owe on to myself. For I am, as Klondike Bill would say, I am the captain of my own ship. So I want to have this program where I can talk about guys that I travel with, guys that I rolled up and down the road with, guys that I got in fights with, against and with, guys that I know personally, guys that it was like a family. You can ask me about Roman Reigns. I can tell you very little. You ask me about Sika, Peter Maivia, I could talk a week. You asked me about Way Wide, I could talk a little bit. You asked me about Mike Watana, Blackjack Mulligan, I could talk all week. So this is my opportunity that I was like Marty and the Pharaoh once again. So give me this opportunity to tell y'all about not sports entertainment, but about wrestling. When wrestling was more real than you think.